Hello filmmakers, thank you so much for watching my short film Strings. Strings was my thesis film at UCLA. Strings was shot in 3 segments, in 3 locations, with 3 different crews. We shot one in Colorado, one in the Mojave Desert, and one in the Angeles National Forest. For each crew I had about 25 people. Some people think that's kind of a downside of shooting film, that you need a bigger crew, but I think it's really important to learn how to run a crew and learn how to work with your departments. Here's a shot of us in Colorado. Okay, so my choice to shoot on film was mainly due to the story. Choosing digital over film for me is a lot like choosing different film stocks if you're only going to shoot film. It provides a certain texture, and that texture should enhance or reinforce your story that you're trying to tell. So for me, I thought Strings would be best suited to film. And what made shooting on film possible were the grants that I received. That was very important. And unfortunately, at the time, I was applying for these grants when film was in its last kind of days. So I know that now it's harder to shoot on film because there isn't as many there aren't as many support systems in place for it, but keep in mind that there's probably a lot of equipment sitting around too, so you could probably get it pretty cheap. So for the grants that I received, I did receive the Sloan Foundation grant. The Sloan Foundation grant is a grant that gives money to films that are based on a scientific topic, and Strings is based in superstring theory. So for the Sloan grant, the only thing I really had to submit was a script. It was based upon the script. However, Strings is told mostly through music, and the music wasn't written at the time. So I wrote the script, and then in place where the songs were going to be, I wrote in some dialogue that kind of gave a similar sentiment that, that the songs would then later convey. So it was kind of a leap of faith for the Sloan Foundation that they took, where they gave me the grant without hearing the songs yet. So luckily that all turned out well. For the other grants that I received, I put together packets. I tried to paint a visual story for them of what my film was going to look like. I included a copy of my script, I included a budget, I included a timeline, I included bios of the key cast and crew. I also included pictures of the locations. I included pictures of my costumes, sketches. I kind of, painted what I wanted this film to feel like and look like. I really wanted to get a kind of Americana, Norman Rockwell feel for my film. It's kind of this idea of old Americana and traditions moving into the future with new ideas. So I kind of wanted to bridge those two things. So I used a lot of the Norman Rockwell images, and also for my costumes I got images of Sonja Henie movies. I don't know if anyone's ever seen those skating movies from the 40s, but they're pretty cool. The color palette that I was going for was earth tones and muted earth tones, and also the girls had to both fit into the world together, but then they also had to fit into their world separately. So you can see the mother has a kind of muted blue tone that goes with the earth natural world, and Electra's costume goes with the world of her in the electrons in the other dimension. Each grant has very specific requirements to it, but you can put a book together like this and then kind of tweak it for each grant that you apply for. I also want to add, and this is very important, before I applied for these grants, I had worked to build a relationship with these companies, so Kodak and Panavision and Technicolor. I, had built relationships with them by getting involved in programs that they offered, editing programs or shooting programs or whatever they have going on for students, or even if you're not a student, they have things going on where you can go and learn about what they do there. It's just important to start building a relationship with people, and they get to know you. They get to know you. They get to know you as a reliable filmmaker who can finish a project, and that's very important. They want to know that you're going to be able to finish it. So another use for that book that you make is that it's, one, it paints the visual picture of your film, but 2, it also shows that you've thought everything out, that you have a solid game plan towards finishing the film. Since the music is such a big part of Strings, I want to take a moment and talk about that process. So the song that you hear in the film, Falling into the Sky, was written by the lead actress who played the mother, Jennifer Nash. She's a singer-songwriter, and she had written a score for me for a previous film that I did called An Open Door. So we had a collaboration before and wanted to collaborate again. So we started that process with my script. I wrote the script, and in place, as I mentioned, I had some dialogue in there, and Jennifer read it and just started to write the song based on discussions that we also had on what the song should sound like, what the tone should be, and then she started sending me little sketches, little melodies that I could listen to and say, yeah, this is getting close, or no, that's not really it. So here are some that you can hear. An early one, this is an early one that we did. And again, you know, this was a process. It was a back and forth process of us kind of deciding what was right for the film and finding it. And then eventually when the song was finished, the lyrics came after, and the lyrics were based on the dialogue that I wrote and also the themes that the movie was trying to convey of, you know, never being afraid and kind of reaching for the stars kind of things. The songs were completed prior to shooting, obviously, because the girls needed to sing and skate to it on set. And then we re-recorded the final tracks later in a recording studio. The score was completed, as most scores are, in post-production, and the score was written by Robert J. Cornejo. Robert was someone who I hired afterward. I found him through a very long and tedious search. And I asked Robert if he could please inform his score with Jennifer's song so that it would sound like it's coming from the same movie, you know, so that we can move from song to score seamlessly. And I'm also a big fan of recurring themes in scores. And for me, the score is like a wrapping paper around a film. You know, it's kind of the thing that ties the whole thing together, excuse my pun. But I think Robert did a really great job with moving from song to score seamlessly, and his orchestration is just amazing.
Mom! 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 Ellie! Ellie! Mom! Ellie! Ellie! Mom! Mom!
So for Strings, I didn't have to get any music rights because all the music is original. If you want to use already pre-recorded music or a song that you love from another artist, you're going to have to get rights. Now there's two parts to obtaining rights for music. One is you need to get the synchronization rights or the sync rights. Now this is the rights for whoever owns the copyright for the song. So that could be a publishing company or an artist who's tied to a publishing company, but for getting those sync rights, it'll usually cost you about $200 to $500 for a festival license only. So that clears you to use the song for your film at festivals. You can ask to get it gratis, which is free, and sometimes they will do it. You never know, it doesn't hurt to try. Now the other side of that is the recording rights, the master recording rights. So if you want a certain song that's sung by a certain artist, then you have to get the master recording rights. So that involves going to the record label generally, and also the artist, and seeing if they'll let you use the song. And they'll want to know how long you're going to use it, what part you're going to use, and what the purpose is. So they'll want to see your film and know about your film and what it is to make sure it's not objectionable to them. And to get the festival rights for recording and master use is about the same cost as it is for sync rights. So again, you're going to pay about $250 to $500, depending on the song, depending on the artist. Again, you could always try to get it for free. Strings has a lot of visual effects. It's a visual effect heavy film. I wanted to learn about how to work with visual effects, so I wrote the film with that in mind. This was not an easy task. It took a very long time to get these finished. When you shoot on film, you have to, well, I storyboard, so everything was storyboarded ahead of time, which I do for every film. And then, I have to just kind of time the shots because you're shooting things with, imagining that there's going to be a certain effect in it, but you don't really know how long it'll take. So you just kind of have to take your best guess and then add some time to it, because I'd rather have something be too long and I can cut it. If it's too short, I can't extend it. So I always err to the side of length. So after you shoot the film, you shoot it with using a green screen and shooting plates, and then for film you have to have your film scanned. So the film house Technicolor in my case had to scan all the shots that had visual effects in them, and then those scans become DPX files, which then go to the visual effects artist, and then he works with them. Now once he has them, I give him my storyboards, and we kind of talked about shots one by one. What a shot should look like. And then, he would do his work and he would send me a shot and I would look at it and review it and see if it was what I intended. Sometimes it was and I could say, yay, it's done. Sometimes it wasn't and I would send it back with some notes. And sometimes it was something better than I had even imagined, and that's always nice to get, a happy accident. So one visual effects element that I had in my film were these gravitons. I'm sure you guys are wondering what those round spiraling things were that were flying through the sky. And those are gravitons. They're the particle messenger of gravity. And you'll notice that whenever they come into the natural world, something's falling, or a girl falls, or there's always things falling or dropping when the gravitons come in. So a graviton is actually a real thing. It's real, and this is what it looks like. These are the images that I pulled to kind of base my graviton on. So then it was about deciding how these things would move, since no one's ever really seen a graviton, how they would move and how they would move through her world. So I'm sure you're all wondering what these gravitons were when you saw them. I do give little clues to what they are throughout the film. If you watch it on a second time, you can maybe pick some of these things up. When the girl falls, one of the gravitons swoops under and catches her, and in the beginning the mother says, my favorite thing about falling is gravity is always there to catch me. And then also, the girl sings about gravity holds her hand and there's gravitons flying above, and whenever a graviton moves into the real world, we see things falling or rolling or dropping. So there's all these little clues planted in there that, hopefully maybe some of you science geeks picked up on.
To the sky, wings on my toes, gravity holds my hand, I'm never afraid.
Well, thank you all again for watching my film Strings. Thank you all for watching this presentation. I hope you're all having a great time in Eureka Springs, and happy shooting, everyone!